The snow whispered against the land like an old lullaby, soft and unrelenting, burying fence posts and dreams with equal grace. In the vast white hush of the Wyoming plains, where even the hawks had long since disappeared into the blizzard, a small figure trudged forward, barely taller than a barrel, blanket dragging behind her, boots swallowed by the drifts. Her cheeks were red with cold, her breath a pale ghost in the air. She didn't cry. She just walked, determined, like someone told her help was always somewhere if you just walked far enough. A man on horseback caught sight of her through the veil of snow. He was riding slow, head down, hat brim iced, the kind of cowboy who looked like he hadn't spoken to another soul in days, and hadn't missed it. His name was Bo McCrae, and the storm suited him. Loneliness had never bothered Bo. He wore it the way others wore coats. But that day when he saw her, just a speck of color in a world gone white, his heart did something he didn't expect. It lurched. She looked up at him with eyes too big for her small, freckled face and said, "My mommy is tied to a fence in the snowstorm. Please help her." There was no scream in her voice. Just fact. Just a small kind of hope that hurt more than any cry could. Bo dismounted, slowly, not taking his eyes off her, and crouched beside her. "Where?" he asked. She pointed behind her, toward the horizon blurred by flurries. "Back that way. I can show you." He didn't ask more. Didn't ask why or who or how long she'd been walking. Some questions freeze in your mouth. He simply lifted her up onto the saddle, wrapping his duster around her like wings, and turned Darla, his Palomino mare, back toward the cold. They found the woman, her mother, lashed to a broken fence outside the old Miller property. Snow was piled around her like a grave half-finished. Her head slumped, hands blue. Ropes cut into her wrists like the marks of something worse than cruelty, abandonment. Bo cursed low and pulled his knife, cutting the bindings gently. The woman collapsed into his arms with the weight of someone who'd stopped expecting to be held. He looked down at her pale, dirt-smudged face and something in him cracked. He'd lost his wife in a snow like this. A different year. A different death. But the cold was the same. He carried her to his horse, lifted her behind the saddle and led the way back home. The little girl, whose name he hadn't yet learned, clung to the reins with quiet bravery, eyes flicking between her mama's face and the path ahead. Bo's cabin wasn't far, but that walk stretched like miles of memory. Inside the fire waited. The hearth popped with pine, throwing orange warmth against the log walls. He laid the woman on his bed, moved gently, boots still crunching with snow as he stoked the heat higher. He wrapped her in quilts, boiled water, and tucked the child into a rocker near the fire, covering her with an old wool blanket. She didn't speak again. Just watched him with the trust of someone who had no other option. The woman didn't wake the first night. Bo didn't sleep either. He sat near the fire, letting his horse drink from a pail just outside, and watched the two strangers breathe. The storm howled around the cabin like it wanted them back. But he didn't open the door. When the woman finally stirred, it was morning. Sunlight tried to push through the frost-laced windows, and the smell of coffee drifted warm. She blinked slowly, confusion softening her bruised features. "You're safe," Bo said, voice low, like he was trying not to scare a deer. She tried to sit, groaned, and lay back. "Where?" "Cabin's mine. You were tied to a fence. Your daughter found me." The words seemed to shatter her. She turned her face to the wall. Her shoulders shook, but no sound came out. Bo poured a cup of coffee and left it on the table beside her. Then he went outside, leaving the door open just a little longer than necessary. That evening she sat near the fire, wrapped in one of his shirts and a blanket, her hands still trembling. June, that was the child's name, curled up at her feet like a kitten. Bo cooked beans and cornbread. The woman didn't speak until the third bite. "Cassidy," she said. He looked up. "My name. Cassidy Rain." He nodded once, slow. "Bo." She looked down at her food. "You're kind. People ain't kind anymore." He didn't know what to say to that. So he didn't say anything. Silence filled the room like fog, thick but not heavy. They spent days in that rhythm. Snow fell endlessly. Cassidy helped where she could. Her limp from frostbite made her slow, but she was stubborn. She washed dishes with shaking fingers, stacked wood with bent shoulders. Bo let her. Some part of him understood the need to do, not just rest. June sang to the mare, Darla, who let the little girl braid wildflowers into her mane when the snow relented for a morning. Bo had never seen that horse stand so still for anyone. Cassidy didn't ask for stories. Neither did he. But once she found an old photograph in the drawer, his wife smiling beside a cradle. She placed it back exactly where it had been. That night she made stew. Bo didn't mention the photo. Cassidy didn't mention the tear in her eye when she stirred the pot too long. One night by the fire, Cassidy asked, "Why'd you help us?" Bo stirred his coffee. "You looked like someone who still had something left to lose." She looked at him for a long time after that, like he'd said something unkind and holy all at once. The snow began to melt in patches. Birds returned, uncertain. And with them, a new fear. Cassidy insisted on leaving. Said she'd burdened him too long. Bo told her the roads were still mud, but she was already gathering her few belongings. The clothes he'd lent her folded neat, the shirt she'd worn too long tucked beneath the blanket. Then the knock came. Sheriff Wallace Tibb. Hard eyes. Silver badge. A man who'd never once knocked on Bo's door without bad news dripping from his boots. "Rain in there?" he asked. Bo didn't answer. The sheriff spit in the dirt. "She lied in court. Got one of my boys locked up. Whole town's been whispering since her man died. You really want to tie yourself to that?" Bo stood quiet, jaw set. The fire behind him felt far away. "She's got a daughter," Tibb continued. "Means she's got weaknesses. I'd watch your back, McCrae." Darla reared behind the cabin. The sheriff flinched, and that gave Bo just enough pleasure to keep from speaking. He didn't draw his gun. Didn't need to. His silence was threat enough. Tibb left. Cassidy cried that night, silent and stiff-backed. She didn't want pity. Didn't want comfort. But Bo sat beside her anyway, not touching, just near enough that the warmth of the fire felt like something shared. She was gone by morning. Left a note. "I can't be your problem. I can't be the reason someone kind gets hurt. Take care of June. She deserves light." Bo saddled Darla faster than he'd saddled anything in months. He didn't stop for coffee, didn't grab his coat. He rode into the gray with only instinct and memory. He found her near the old pass, half-collapsed, frost clinging to her lashes, blood crusting one torn palm. She was trying to reach the trading post, thinking it would be safer there, thinking maybe she could disappear. He dismounted without a word, lifted her into his arms again, and this time when he held her, he said, "I lost one woman to childbirth. I'm not losing another to fear." Her breath caught, then broke. Her arms wrapped around him slowly, like thaw returning to frozen limbs. When he carried her back, the storm had passed. The wind had gone still. Cassidy woke later, under his roof again. She didn't try to rise. She didn't apologize. She just reached for his hand. And this time Bo didn't flinch. June slept curled in the rocker, a sunbeam laying gold across her face. They sat there not speaking. But something in the silence was warmer than any fire. Somewhere beyond the trees, snow still covered the plains. But inside the cabin, spring had already begun.